Hey guys, Godzilla Freak here, and this is a YouTube video. I know this channel hasn't had one for a long time, but here is the video, okay? Long awaited. One Punch Man Season 2 just concluded, like 5 weeks ago, but whatever. I've had enough time to think about it. Let's review it. First, a bit of history. In 2015, Madhouse Studios released the anime One Punch Man, adapting the manga by Yusuke Murata, which was itself an adaptation of a webcomic by One. The anime shook the world with a unique plot and story, interesting characters, and great music. Among all that, the most exemplary part of One Punch Man, at least to casual audiences, was the animation. It was smooth, crisp, with phenomenal direction and some genuinely great artwork. One Punch Man became a standard for good animation at the release of its very first episode. Fast forward to 2018. It's been years and a season 2 was nowhere in sight for One Punch Man. Not really too surprising considering Madhouse's history of only making one season per show. This didn't stop fans from being outraged though. One Punch Man had an amazing anime adaptation which made viewers rightfully anxious for a season 2. And considering the popularity of its first season, One Punch Man Season 2 would be almost guaranteed to make money. At this point in time, even Attack on Titan had its Season 2 after a notoriously long wait. Despite the immense success of Attack on Titan Season 1, Season 2 made significantly less money and had less than half of the attention of the first season. Anime studios thought that the same would happen to One Punch Man if a Season 2 were to be delayed for too long. In 2018, Madhouse produced Seasons 2 and 3 of the series Overlord, which they had first produced in 2015. The anime community was rightfully confused as to why Madhouse was working on a less popular series in Overlord instead of a more popular series, One Punch Man. By this point, people were already losing hope in the future of the One Punch Man anime, and it felt like Madhouse was just rubbing it in everyone's face. Then, on August 8th of 2018, Yonko Productions dropped some big news which sparked the One Punch Man fandom. The details of the news were in the end false, but Yonko Productions did get two things right. One Punch Man Season 2 was ready to be produced, and it was being made not by Studio Madhouse, but by JC staff. About a week later, updated information came out, and it was known that One Punch Man Season 2 would air in the spring 2019 season. People were excited for the release of another season of One Punch Man. It would be almost 4 years after the first season and be made by a new studio, but fans were still optimistic about the release that was about to come. That being said, this didn't stop many from being worried about Season 2 of One Punch Man. It was noted that the announcement of the season was happening just 4 months before the season was going to air. This meant that there would only be around 4 months worth of animation done before the 12 episodes of One Punch Man would be put onto screens. Considering a 3-month runtime, only 7 months would be used to create 12 episodes of animation. The highest quality TV anime take upwards of over 3 months to make a single episode. The standards set by One Punch Man Season 1 were some of the highest in the anime world, meaning that to produce 12 episodes of anime the same quality as One Punch Man Season 1 in just 7 months would be almost impossible. Even if Season 2 was being produced at a blistering pace and was started before its announcement, to get anywhere near the quality of Season 1 was something that, in hindsight, could not have happened. Side note, this really puts into perspective as to why Toei Animation often has subpar quality in its episodes. One Punch Man Season 2 still had over half a month for each episode, even if the release announcement was the very start of production. Toei Animation gets 1 week per episode. Even with that schedule, top tier Toei edges out pretty much all other TV anime. Yeah, I get top tier Toei, like they spend a lot of time on one episode and make the other episodes worse. But even then, they're still making the other episodes. Please, people, stop hating on Toei. Look at One Piece. I made the script before the Wano arc started in One Piece. The trailers were good, but wow, this is amazing. One Piece hasn't looked this good in so long. On March 19th, 2019, a promotional video was released for the second season of One Punch Man. It wasn't received very well. Character designs were unimpressive, overall artwork was subpar, and Genos was an absolute disaster. Optimists claimed that it was just a trailer and that the actual product would be better, but considering the fact that trailers are meant to highlight the best parts of a product, it would not make sense to have a trailer display bad work. Shockingly, the release was better than the trailer, mostly because the trailer was horribly edited, but it was still not nearly on the level of Season 1. That intro was awfully long. If you read the title of the video, you know my opinion on the second season of One Punch Man. It's not very good. JC staff did not deliver, and I can't say I'm surprised. If we just look at JC staff's portfolio, their best productions are anime like Food Wars and Toradora. Not exactly high action series like One Punch Man. The closest works they have to One Punch Man are Toaru and Slayers. They were alright, but it's clear that JC isn't a good studio for a high action anime. Compare this to Madhouse, who have a history of great action series such as Hajime Ippo, Hunter x Hunter 2011, and Hellsing Ultimate. There is a common narrative among those who have only watched the One Punch Man anime that Season 2 was an above average production, and that Season 1 was just too high of a standard to be realistically met for any studio, not just JC. While this notion has some truth, it is filled with many holes. Season 2 of One Punch Man had some pretty decent building shots, but character designs were bad, and the action scenes looked really wonky. I'll give some further examples of this later in the video. The most important point I'd like to make is the source material of the One Punch Man anime. It's not the webcomic, it's the manga. Yusuke Murata is one of, if not the greatest manga artist of all time, from a purely artistic perspective. Not talking about paneling, just talking about art. If you have not read the One Punch Man manga, please do. It is quite a bit further ahead than the anime, and the artwork is just so much better than any of the Season 2 animation. Just look at it. It's amazing. Yeah, I know the anime for Season 2 towards the end, there was some nice action and stuff. The start was really bad in comparison, but the manga is just miles ahead. Standards instantly rise when you are adapting something great. An adaptation of a work should try to live up to the original work, as that will give people a reason to consume the adaptation. There was absolutely no reason for me to watch Season 2 of One Punch Man outside of making this video. The manga does such a better job of telling the same story as the anime, making the anime completely irrelevant. The best parts of One Punch Man Season 2 were the parts that look like traces of the manga. I'm completely serious here. The best moments of the anime were just traces of the manga. There's nothing wrong with that, if it weren't for the fact that the parts that were not traces of the manga were just so jarring in comparison, aside from maybe a few scenes. All the moving parts in One Punch Man Season 2 were mostly original to the anime, meaning that they were infinitely worse than the select few stills that were copies of the manga, which by the way are not even half as good as Season 1 stills. This makes a huge discrepancy which looks really bad. Season 1 succeeded because its animated parts and its stills were relatively similar in terms of quality, making the anime look amazing throughout. Season 2 fails because its animation is inconsistent between episodes and within fights, making it look sometimes good, but usually bad. What I'm trying to get across with all of this is that you should read the manga. It's in the war arc as of the release of this video, and the artwork is just so wonderful. Look at this absolute excellence. The anime needs to be at least half as good as its source material. Season 2 isn't even a quarter of the quality of the manga. Read the manga, just do it. Also, while you're at that, read iShield 21. Oh my god, it's so good. Best sports anime / manga ever. Just do it. I guess now I'll actually review Season 2 like the title says. I'll need some guardrails, to help me stay on track. Episode 1 of One Punch Man Season 2 was, to say the least, underwhelming. It covered a lot of material, but did nothing to really impress me. The only notable shots / scenes, which could be considered high quality, are the landscape views of buildings, and even then they are just at best above average. Not outstanding, not top tier, just good. King's face is too long in this one shot, and Saitama's features are just off at times. Don't even get me started on CGI Genos, that was just awful. The one good character design in this episode was that of G4, and I'll give them some credit. G4 looked consistently high quality and proper. On top of that, there were some nice looking stills of characters. The effects work was also pretty good. The consistency was just so non-existent that it did not allow the first episode to really leave an impression. The art was really the least problematic aspect of the show's visuals. The animation was where the problems really began. This episode featured a lot of stills of varying quality and a limited amount of expressive movement. The good animation in the episode was seemingly left out of the action fight, reserved instead for admittedly good character movements. King had some good animation when he was just being scared. I can't recall noticing a scene where characters had vivid interaction with the items and terrain around them in the same way that happened in Season 1. It's like the animation had to choose between character animation and background animation, not being capable of having both simultaneously. This really took away from the experience that could have been so much better. Animation was not really the biggest shortcoming of this season's aesthetic. The largest problem by far was something that mainstream audiences do not differ from animation: the direction. To call One Punch Man Season 2 poorly directed would be a major understatement. From weird shot selection to active avoidance of action, the direction of this season was evident within the first few minutes of the first episode. There are many shots which face away from the characters' expressions in favor of their legs and the street background. Action is quite literally hidden. Here they choose to show Genos' face rather than his punch onto G4. It's probably for budgetary reasons, but in action anime, avoiding action is absolutely unacceptable. Choosing not to show the impacts that people watch One Punch Man for. I watch this show to see punches, not the shockwaves that come out of them. Another major problem with the show's direction is the weird amount of editing that is involved. There are these repeated zoom outs and odd looking cuts which look like parts of a YouTube video rather than an anime. They really kill the immersion of the show and take me out of any scenes they're put into. Those things work in YouTube videos because YouTube videos are usually structured like non-fictional books, delivering messages straight to the point. An anime series, especially one like One Punch Man, is structured in a way which is meant to immerse the audience into its story. It is meant to pull the viewer into the world and let them feel like they're actually there. Whenever these weird zooms and cuts show up, it breaks that immersion and lowers the overall enjoyment I have of what I'm watching. Overall, the first episode left a bad impression. Definitely not what I was hoping for. The art was average in most cases, and the direction was just not good. It doesn't at all compare to the same parts of the manga and failed to make me want to watch the rest of the season. It was pretty obvious from the studio alone that Season 2 was not going to get close to the manga in terms of quality. You know what? Let's talk about that. Why was the production of Season 2 so weak? On the surface, it would seem that being produced by JC staff was the main reason in One Punch Man Season 2's failure, and that is indeed true. Allow me to elaborate. A common narrative spread through the anime world is that it is not Madhouse which made One Punch Man Season 1 so good, but rather the individual animators as well as animation director Shingo Natsume. For the most part, this is true. Natsume has a well-established body of work which is quite powerful, and One Punch Man Season 1 had an overall passionate animation team. It is most definitely true that One Punch Man Season 1 could not turn out the way it did without those people. I mean, it should be obvious that individual animators impact animation. Season 2 of One Punch Man chose to have a new animation director because Natsume was out doing other projects and did not have the time to work on One Punch Man. Not wanting an Attack on Titan Season 2, JC decided to hire Chikara Sakurai to direct One Punch Man Season 2. When we look at Sakurai's body of work, we see anime nobody's ever heard of and a few Naruto movies, as the only times he's actually been on full animation director. Most people stop there. They conclude that One Punch Man Season 2 failed not because of the absence of Madhouse, but because of the absence of key staff members. I would like to refute that argument. Take a look at Madhouse's portfolio over the 2010s. is quite good. Hajime no Ippo, One Punch Man, No Game No Life, Hunter x Hunter, High School of the Dead, and much, much more can all be considered to be far better than One Punch Man Season 2 from the perspective of animation. Madhouse has a history of great productions. Even their weaker works are usually quite good. There is no way that Madhouse wouldn't be able to find a team capable of making One Punch Man Season 2 at least comparable to Season 1. Heck, even the low-tier Madhouse anime had better animation and direction than One Punch Man Season 2. JC Staff isn't really a bad studio. They make some pretty good stuff from time to time. They just shouldn't have been the studio to make an action series like One Punch Man, especially not with a shorter than optimal schedule. Oh yeah, by the way, could you imagine if Toei got One Punch Man and we got Naoto Shishida scenes? That would be true magic. It's really a shame that we couldn't get it. That aside, this video is long enough, and I really don't want to make it any longer by going episode by episode. I'll just talk about the best and worst parts of One Punch Man Season 2, and then go into story and some general stuff at the end. Sounds good, right? Episode 3 was probably the best episode of One Punch Man Season 2. Garo vs Saitama was basically exactly how it looked in the manga, which is good, because the manga's good. CGI Elder Centipede or Centitroro was actually pretty good. Usually CGI is done quite badly, but JC proved that it could work for big monsters. If anything, it being CGI actually improved its sense of scale and size. Very impressive. Genos going against Centipede was at the very least comparable to the manga in terms of quality, but it happened a bit too quickly. There were some good still frames across the season if you really want to pick them out. Saitama vs Garo was really good, though it was only a few seconds. The sweat going upwards is a beyond perfect detail. Technically that was also in the manga, but seeing the sweat actually move changes everything about that scene. The final episode was also quite good. It had some great moments, and the quality was definitely acceptable. It was better than most anime that season, and could definitely qualify as a passable adaptation of the manga. It had some weak points, especially that last punch. The Garo flashback looked really good though. The way the silhouettes actually moved around, and the way the representation of authority gave a lecture to Garo was something that was actually improved in the anime compared to the manga. Honestly speaking, this was the only sequence I would consider superior to the manga. An impressive feat. Genos vs Centipede was also really cool to see animated. It happened a good bit too fast, but it was still good. Same thing with Bang and Bomb. They were really well detailed and did some nice looking things. Their combo attack looked good, the effects were kind of weird and the way it hit Centipede was avoiding action, but the aftermath of the attack was done really well to compensate. King saying his insults to Centipede was just beautiful with actual sound. Though I will talk about voice acting at the end, it was great to hear those insults, actually hear them. When the manga finishes up the war arc and gets closer to the webcomic, it will open up for season 3. I really want to hear Saitama lecture at the end of the war. That stuff was legendary. On to the bad stuff, mostly badly directed and paced fights, sadly. You know, it would have been better for the budget and time to be cut from buildings, but no, they chose to cut animation from action scenes instead. Look at this side-by-side comparison. Look at all that contact. Another major problem I have with the animation is its speed. I'll go deeper into pacing problems at the end, but the fights are just too fast. We don't get to see the combat techniques that characters use before it cuts away to another scene. Garo's intrigue, in terms of fighting at least, is the way he counters the styles of the opponent. The anime goes over his fights so quickly, it decreases the impact of them as compared to what they should be. We don't see the impact of every attack. It's like JC forgot what the Seeking said about making every punch count. Shots and scenes really had no idea what they were doing lots of the time. The direction of the entire season felt all over the place and very inconsistent. Maybe I'm observing what's not there because I wanted the season to be better, but it really feels like they put in scenes that weren't in the manga. Wait, no. They did. Why in the world did they add stuff that wasn't in the manga? What is the point of any of this? Did they think that the fights weren't short enough already? Did they think that they didn't cover enough material? Yeah, the pacing was awful. Most people complain about One Piece and Dragon Ball's pacing, saying it's too slow. I never agree with that idea because I've always felt that Dragon Ball had really good pacing. More build-up means much more payoff. People just really can't stand slow media these days, and I guess time is valuable. I don't really have a problem with modern anime because of its faster pace, even if personally I like slower pace. It works just fine in my opinion. One Punch Man Season 2, on the other hand, what can I say? It's a speed run. It's a speed run. Everything happens way too quickly because JC wanted to finish the season with Saitama punching Centipede and have the season finish in 12 episodes. Season 1 covered chapters 1 through 37. 37 total chapters. Season 2 covered chapters 38 through 84, a total of 47 chapters. This means that Season 2 covered 10 more chapters of the manga than Season 1, almost a full chapter more per episode. Add on the fact that Season 1 was already fast-paced, and the fact that Season 2 added additional non-manga content, and you can clearly see the pacing issue. Just as a side note, One Punch Man does not have the same pages per chapter in the manga. Honestly, some manga chapters work as entire episodes by themselves because of their absurd length. Season 1 and 2 both covered long chapters though, so it isn't that important a point. When the amount of chapters covered is taken into account, it's pretty obvious as to why One Punch Man Season 2 has severe pacing issues. Because there was no big Saitama moment until Sent to Troro, JC staff was forced to jam in more content into Season 2 than would normally make sense. Good pacing was sacrificed in order to have a climax fans would at least be a little bit satisfied with. As much as I would like to criticize that move, using the power of 2020 hindsight, I can see that it was a good decision. Much of the One Punch Man Season 2 anime viewers complained about the lack of Saitama. He wasn't the focus of every episode and fans were upset. As a manga reader, I was just a little annoyed with this. The Goketsu thing that was one episode worth of time in the anime was over 3 months in the manga. Even if it was largely due to a slow chapter release schedule, it still goes to show the pace of the manga. Waiting for manga chapters without consuming them still builds hype and increases tension. Speaking of the Sentitroro moment, like a paragraph ago, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think they traced parts of the Season 1 opening and pasted over the Centipede. I mean, look at this. It looks like it looks like a fan traced animation. Look at this expression. It's literally from the opening. I mean, come on now. You cannot tell me that this scene is not that scene. Look at how it was done in the manga. Look at the expressions. This is completely wrong in every way outside the shockwave after the fact. That one's actually pretty nice. The music for Season 2 was, alright. It used some of the Season 1 score, underutilized and misplaced in my opinion, but the main theme of the series was definitely there. I'm playing it right now because it's great. The Season 2 themes were actually well made. Garo's theme was well placed and well done. I can't find an official release of it without sound effects in the background, so a slightly remixed version of the soundtrack is the best you're going to get in this review. Outside of that, the score was really average. When watching, I didn't notice the One Day OST. One Day was an absolutely amazing OST and would have fit in so many scenes. Really don't know why they didn't use it. Absolutely missed opportunity there. As for the voice acting, nothing too important. Bang saying Oni-chan was really weird. King sounded surprisingly good. I'm glad that they decided to go for someone with a deep voice. In the manga, it was unclear what King would sound like outside of the King engine. Some people were expecting a timid voice to match his personality. No way that was happening. That's right, Illusion 100. King sounds super intimidating. When he called for Saitama against Centipede, and when he insulted Centipede, it was absolutely great. We knew that he was just a normal human, but he sounded and looked like the world's strongest man. King is just such a well-written character, and the voice acting only enhanced it. I guess I'll review the story too. Anyone watching this far likes my content, for some reason. Or you just skipped. Who knows, right? This review is not well made, so I don't know why you're watching. The anime did change a few small elements of the One Punch Man story, but the overall narrative and plot was the same as that of the manga. It was really good. Garo was basically a perfectly written antagonist, a motivated opposing force to the protagonist who had his own ideals, which challenged the views of the world. One is an absolute master of writing a story, from characters to plot to comedy to action. This man his story sense is so powerful. Garo is just one of many well-written characters that made a showing in Season 2. Metal Bat, King, Fubuki, all had their moments too. The lack of Saitama made people upset, but what everything is building up to for Saitama is just perfection. I could go deeper into the characters and plot structure of One Punch Man Season 2, but this video is long enough already, and that could be saved for a later date. Any one of the characters I mentioned could get a 20-minute video on their own if I'm being honest. Oh yeah, I need to at least talk about the humor slightly. The jokes in the anime delivered at about 80% the strength of the manga. King is perfection in every way comedically. Literally Saitama, but the opposite. Good at video games too. Sonic vs. Genos is the greatest rivalry. Saitama's conclusion on martial arts is that of a true legend. This review is too long. With all that being said, I still need to give One Punch Man Season 2 an overall rating, or score, or whatever you want to call it, 3 out of 10. I really value replaceability. To me, an irreplaceable, mediocre work is stronger than a replaceable, well-done work. Even if a work is really good, if there's an alternative which does the same thing better, the replaceable work will be graded much lower by me personally, because there is no reason to consume the replaceable work rather than the superior alternative, which is basically the same. Now, replaceability doesn't kill a show in rating, as it does when considering buying it, but I definitely value replaceability a lot more than your average critic, which is why I will never be a proper critic. With that being said, if the One Punch Man manga didn't exist, I would give One Punch Man Season 2 an 8+ out of 10. Not because the animation is any better when I can't reference the manga, but because the storyboards in draft stage will be an 8. Like, the storyboards with webcomic level art is an 8. That's how good the writing is. The actual rating for Season 2 is a 3 because the manga is the anime, just better in every way, including story due to a superior pace. No music or color, I guess. But that doesn't matter when pacing and art is just leagues and bounds ahead. Especially for One Punch Man. The manga has both story and art. Read the manga if you haven't. Seriously, go do it. That's my review. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, or don't. The best I can do is make suggestions and remind you. Comment giraffe, because reasons of course. That's gonna be all for today, guys. Take care, y'all. Bye.